Hello everyone, welcome back, and this is a tutorial series of Entity Framework 2.0. And today we are going to discuss about the database relationships and how you can perform the DB relationships in using Entity Framework code. So one to one, one to many, and many to many. These are the mostly used three terms in DB relationships. And when you're talking through code or through programmings or through database as well, I think these are the three terms which we use in most of the cases. So for example, I have taken user entity, which is very common for all the demos, and user profile, which is again a common thing. User profile, address, role. So these are very basic scenarios I have considered. So first let's try to understand the concept behind these, and then we'll jump into the code, how to perform this using EF. So first one is one to one, which is like one table have a reference key, like a again primary key of another table. So user will have a one user profile, and user profile ID will be sitting in a user table. So that is kind of one to one relationship. One to many means user ID will be sitting in an address table, and address table will have a user ID. So user may have a multiple addresses, say home address, office address, some temporary address, or anything. And many to many relationships, like one user may have multiple roles. User may be admin, user can have also a role of manager, HR. So it's depend, and one role can be assigned to a multiple users as well. Let's say admin role can be assigned to multiple users, HR role can be assigned to a multiple users. So it's a many to many relationships, many entities assigned to many things, and vice versa. So this thing will try using the entity framework. For the demo purpose, I have considered we will continue with our demo project, which is EF core demo. And since we already have a user class, so first we'll look into the one-to-one relationships. So let's go to code, and we already have a user class. We have to just create the user profile. Let's call it user profile, and we'll keep some basic properties here. Say what additional thing it may have, profile related string, I'll say nickname, I'll say profile picture. So we'll take these two properties, and now let's go to the user class and just refer that user profile what I will call it user profile. User has profiles, we'll call it as a profile. That should be enough, I think. So we have created user profile class, and we are referring to the user class. So user has a profile, it's a single entity. So user has one profile. Now let's go to our program file and try to execute this, try to create a entry using the user plus user profile, and then we'll see what's happened. So let's say user is equal to new user dot email. I'll give something, let's say user dot profile is equal to, we create new user profile and I'll assign some properties, nickname, and say some D or something, and say deep. Then it should be other way around. Let's say move this name here. That looks good, I think. And here we'll assign some dummy value, something, some name, the dot jpg. It's called context dot add, and you just need to add the user class. So we have instance called context dot save changes, and try to execute the program. Get debugger here. Let's see. Here we go. So let's try to add user. What it says is the entity type user profile requires a primary key. Okay, we forgot to add the primary key. I think let's add property called id and run it again, because every entity class required a primary key, otherwise it will throw an exception. So now let's see what it gives. Okay, so what is the error? Invalid object name user profile. Yes, it should give this error because we forgot to add this class in your DB context. So your entity framework will not recognize which class we are trying to add. So better we'll create one more entry here called user profile to provide the information to EF. We have two classes which we want to add into the database. Now let's give it a try and check. While updating entity, see the error exception invalid object name user profile, but we have already added this. I think that is because we need to just rebuild the database, sorry, project, build it again and try again. Let's add for surety. We have our database always ensure created. If in case database is not available, let's try this again. Done, it's gone. So that is done. Now let's stop it and let's check in the database how relationships are formed in the database. Since in the code side we have already defined like user has user profile class, nothing else. So let's go to the database and check how the relationships comes here. So you can see there are two tables, which is users and user profile. Let's check what is there. tk avatar.jpg, which is fine, we have given the same data. Okay, let's see which user this profile belongs to. Now if you will see the user table, there should be a foreign key reference. Yes, it is, which is belong to user profile. Let's see the database. Profile ID is 1. this user has one profile, which is profile, user profile, and if you want to update it, let's give a try for that as well. Let's say context dot users dot find user where id is, what is the id? id is 1. Okay. Okay, now in this user I want to update the profile dot nickname, I want to say Sam, and just update this context dot update the user and make some changes, 8 changes. Okay, now run it and check. Okay, this is another issue, since this we will be discussing on the next tutorials. So if you want to fetch a related entities along with the parent entity, then you need to include like this. Should be you have to explicitly tell entity framework, okay, along with the user class I need user profile as well, because that's a separate entity, user profile itself, this table. So with this data I want to load this data as well, which is we will do through include for me this user profile as well. Now let's go. Okay, what is that? Since we are using include, I think we cannot use find method, which is not available at all. So we will be using first for default. We can define our id where id is equal to 1. Let's try to load this now. Okay, let's see if get loaded. Yes, user has user profile which has nickname profile pic. Now we are trying to update this, and that's it. Let's check in the TV. See, now it's got updated. So that is one-to-one relationship. So entity framework is quite intelligent to understand the relationships. If you just define, if you just give a reference of this class or whatever the class you want to make a one-to-one relationship, you can just add it as a property here, and EF will automatically take care of this. Now the next thing is adding one-to-many relationships. So for that we'll take a demo of address class. So let's add an address class here. So for demo purpose I have added one class called address, and which has 3-4 properties: country, state, city, and street address. And id is compulsory to work with EF, because EF need every class must have an id property. Now let's go to user class and try to add one more relationship to user class. Let's say user have collection of address, means user have multiple addresses. So user have multiple addresses, and address will have any user detail. User, say user. Okay, so this is how you need to add one-to-many relationships. So the entity you where you want a collection, like this is a one, have many addresses, and this is the class where multiple addresses will be sitting. So here you need to keep the address of your parent entity, which is again a user. So user, and let's split the window and see. Our user class has many addresses, and one address at least will belong to a single user. So you should have this user object also. This is how entity framework will understand the relationship. Now let's try to add this entity. We already have a user profile, and we'll try to add user dot address is equal to, and for the safety purpose, since here you can just say user dot address dot add, which is again because it will be a null if user does not have any address. So in the constructor you can say initialize the instance of address, and it is as a hash set of address. So here you are not going to throw any exception unintentionally. Now we'll try to add address class. For this demo I'm just giving a street address property. Thus you can define that other properties as well. Give 120 street think we should take one more property called title, which will help us to identify the address type. Say this address belongs to where, this is my home address, and I'll add one more entry here, which is my office address, and here I'll give 10 street 15th main. Okay. So I have a user called DK, and depending on user profile it has multiple addresses as well. Now try to add this to a database using EF. Context is equal to new EF demo context dot add user context dot save changes, and that's it. But let's check, since we have added a new address entity, we need to add this to our context class also. Model builder dot entity have one more table called address, so added in a database. See the address, I have added a new entity, so it should, EF should be able to modify this database, existing database. For that purpose I'll just say context dot database dot ensure delete it first, then recreate. This is for the demo purpose. It should not be usually in the production or any kind of database. This might be very dangerous sometime. So you have to be very careful when you are using this term ensure deleted and ensure created. Ensure created fine because it will only check for the, if the database doesn't exist, it will try to create the database, but this may be dangerous sometime. You have to be careful. And so it will delete the database, it will create it again, and it will try to add the user class. Now let's check if anything we are missing. We have added a primary key here, we have added that class to your context. I think we are fine. Let's run this. Okay, done. I think stop this and we will check our database. Oops. There is nothing called EF demo. I think we have missed it. Debugging. Let's start this again. Okay, now let's try, give a try. Okay, it's available. Let's check the relationship between user and address. Okay, this is the address table. You'll see, as you can see, user ID is available because multiple addresses will be belonging to the single user. So how the relationship should be formed? User will not have any address ID because only one user entry, say, okay, so this user belongs to multiple addresses, so we cannot fit in here if you'll see. So address table will have a multiple entries, so you can see this one. Do we added any other address also? Okay, I think we added 3 addresses, home, office, and one is without any title. So all these 3 belongs to user 1. So EF will take care of your relationships, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. So I think it's been already long time, or sorry, long video. So I'm trying to keep my videos as short as possible, so it won't be any issue if you're trying coming back and just going through the video, stopping in some place, and if you want to check out on a specific thing. So let's make it short. So the third one we'll see into the next video, which is many-to-many relationships and how you can use in a entity framework. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.